Hello, folks. How are you doing? A little bit different today. I'm running a touch behind just because I literally just finished recording the podcast. Um, Check for that on Wednesday. The Wednesday episode is going to be Matt Derrick on with us. We're going to talk about what we're talking tonight, just to get his insider look at what the team and everybody is thinking. So, that said, we'll get started. I'll talk a little bit about the Tyreek Hill situation off the bat. I'm sure that's what everybody wants to talk about. So I'll just try to get my thoughts out of the way first, and we can get into the Q&A there after that. I'm going to try to keep it a little bit tighter this week just because I got some other things that we got cooking there for both the show and for the channel. So tonight's beer, for all of you who care, the Maharaja IPA. It's an Imperial 10%er from Avery up in Longmont. Great beer, great brewery. One of my go-tos, actually. So the camera angle is a little wider this week. I had to change some things up. Trying to get some different stuff going in the background. So look for that for some of the videos here upcoming. Maui bro, aloha. Let's see. So, see a lot of friendly names in here. I can't even go through them all. It'll take me forever, but nice to see you guys. Thanks for joining. Looks like we're getting a lot of fresh faces too. So if you're new here and you haven't been on a live stream before, hit me with like 3 or 4 question marks before you type your question. It helps me pull them out of the stream. And if I miss you, bear with me. There's so many people asking questions. Sometimes I just don't see them all. But that said, I'm going to start off about Hill to begin with, and then we'll go back to the questions. So just hold them for a couple of minutes. Excuse me. I'm mostly back to normal, but I'm getting there. So this is what happened today. I told you last week, if you missed the RGR video on the topic for Sammy, I was telling you that I expect the Tyreek Hill decision to be done by training camp. And along those lines, what we found out today through a number of outlets, I think it was 810 that put it out first. And I'm not going to address anything else about 810. That's up to you guys. But I think they put it out first. It was corroborated by a bunch of other sources. So I feel like it's legit now. And that's why I made him the person on the thumbnail, because the NFL is moving up their investigation. They're going to start doing interviews. It's going to be this week. And it looks like it's going to be Wednesday, where NFL officials are actually going to interview Tyreek Hill, get his side of the story, get into the details, I'm sure, against whatever else they have for information. And it's my understanding through a couple of sources that there is sharing amongst the information found in the investigation so far with the NFL, and that they've had information as it's been going. So I think it was really just to this point where they had to let something get to the point where it's this low part of the season where not as many people are paying attention to the NFL. And they wanted to get that out of the way. So now they can address it. They can listen and hear what they hear. They can make their decision. A lot of folks had some strong reaction when I said Tyreek Hill's going to get suspended. I don't see any way that he doesn't get suspended. So take that with a grain of salt. If you really feel that he's going to get out of this scot-free, then I don't think you've seen what the NFL has done to some other players that have violated the NFL's rules. Doesn't matter if they broke the law or not, whether they're found guilty or not. The NFL can do what it wants in terms of its discipline for its policies. So while I'm with you that a conviction is certainly something, in this case, when a child's involved, a charge would be a no-brainer. Given that none of that has happened, it's still up to the league to be able to punish, penalize however they see fit. And the league in general, not just Goodell, but he is obviously the final say. So whether you listen to any of the stations in town, they all have their pluses and minuses. But they put this out there so that we would know that it's going on. I do see that it will happen before camp. I think they want to get it out of the way. I think they want to make the decision. They want to get it on the books and get it out. So I still expect 4 games is where I feel it's going to come down. Technically, I believe if I read all of the passages, and the 2 people that I've talked about this that know the rule book even way better than I do, it could be up to an 8-game suspension. by legality. There is even because of, if had there been a charge, it could have been a whole season. So I see a lot of you guys saying hi. Glad you're here. First timer, Chris Smith, you stood out. I hope you're not Chris Smith, Smitty that I went to school with. Otherwise, you should be texting me, not in the chat. But that said, welcome. I hope all you guys that are newbies just hold your questions for a little bit and follow what everybody else is doing. Hit those question marks before your question. Helps me pick them out. So I do expect 4 games for Tyreek Hill. It could be less. It could be more. If it comes out that it's 8, I do expect him to appeal. I think the NFLPA will push for that. I think if it's less than that, I don't think you're going to see any kind of fighting about it. I think it's going to be something that has come to, this is what's going to happen. Let's do it and get it over with. Clean up your act. And there is going to be a significant fallback in feedback, both from the team and from the league, that he's got to clean things up, that he's got to not allow any of this kind of stuff to happen anymore. And I think that speaks more to the relationship with his ex-fiance or whatever than anything else. But that said, those 4 games, whether it's 2 or 6 or whatever it ends up being, I think because of this being the 100th year season, with him being such a high-profile player, when he's back on the field, I think they want to try to get it out of the way. So I think that's exactly how it's going to come down. So that said, none of the details have changed. This is about how he embarrassed the league in having it come up in the first place and the comments that he made on the audio. In the end, unless they have information from the DA or from Child Services that we don't have, and there's some kind of finding, which if there were a finding, I would think that they would have done something about it. In that case, a charge. So I don't think we're going to have any stupendous news about it, anything shocking. I think we're going to find out that they still don't know how that arm was broken or who did what. And if there's anything beyond a debate about how you parent and how you discipline a child, especially at that age, I don't think there's anything else that legally is going to happen. So I think the league will be in clear sailing to just make its decision, have it stick, and it'll be done. So there's going to be repercussions there. It's going to change some of camp, I think. I think it's going to change, in my personal opinion, some of what we see. And this camera is shifting. Sorry, folks. Let me get that in the right spot. I think it's going to change what we see on the field in the preseason. I don't know that he's going to play as many snaps as he normally would. I think he's going to practice a lot. I think he's not going to play a whole lot in front of fans and cameras. So that does set other players up to reap the benefits. So let me scroll back up a little bit because I know a couple of you had some early questions, and we'll just get started from there. I don't want to address anything about 810 or its people or anybody that it is what it is. I'm not my job. I'm not here to rein them in. So we're just going to talk about this stuff, football, and whatever else we need to cover. So I'm going to go back up. Let's see. Chris Smith, I'll go back to your first timer. With the emergence of Ragland, surprising Hitchens, do you think that we should use him as trade bait to help get us another premier corner? Keep up the great work. Well, thanks, Chris. And I don't think that you're going to get enough in a trade value for Reggie that's going to give you enough ammunition to go after somebody. And there's very few corners that I think are worth going after, Patrick Peterson being one of them, but I don't think that's going to help you much. I do feel like the team still believes in Reggie Ragland. I feel like Matt House feels like he can get him in the right shape, in the right usage to play in Spags defense. And quite honestly, I feel like Reggie's got to be healthier than he was last season. I think it was a problem with the knee that played into his performance as well. So I do expect that we're going to see Reggie be more athletic this season than last. I do think another CB, a premier CB, would be a good acquisition to make if you could get something done. So let's see. Next question. Dr. Sanitary, how are you? Do you think there's a short suspension that helps or hurts the NFL ratings and perception? I don't think it much matters. I think when the decision is made, when the suspension comes down is more important. It's not going to be fulfilled until week 1 either way. So there's really no way to avoid that for the league. And I think they want to get it out of the way so that when training camp starts, they can celebrate training camp being open across the league and not have to continue to deal with it hanging over them. So I think that's the bigger motivation for the league. And by the way, folks, Super Chat's open. If you want to use it, feel free. It is when you donate to the channel for those of you that are new. But if you do, please make sure you ask me a question so you get something for your donation. Hopefully I'm answering all your questions anyway. But when you do, make sure you throw it in that same one. Okay. Next one. Okay, Streamer Gods. That's interesting. Hadn't heard that. He says the radio guys in KC now say that Chris Jones could be available for a trade. There's no truth to that whatsoever. I'll tell you that right now. I don't care who said it, on what station or whatever. There's no way they're trading Chris Jones, period, for anyone. Chris Jones is going to be a premier defensive tackle in this league. It's a question of how much you pay him and when. It's not if. He will be a Chief. They are not trading him. That would be beyond silly. That's the nicest word I could use for it. So, good question, though. I'm glad you brought that up. I hadn't heard that either. Metal Rocker X. Who is likely to be the free safety with Badger, Sorensen or Thornhill? It's going to be Thornhill. They've made every indication that they are going to start Thornhill. He started in the OTAs. Sorensen did fill in for him. So as much as I have told you over the years that I don't like Sorensen playing in the back, Sorensen can play in the front. He can be a box safety. He can be a blitzing safety. And that's something that Steve Spagnuolo will use fairly often. So I do think there is a place for Dan Sorensen. The question is going to be, how much of it? How much does he want to play three safeties? If Spags is looking to play three safeties, it puts more of the impetus on coverage at the safety position than it does on blitzing and playing in the box. That's one way that you could see Dan Sorensen not make the roster. But we won't know until we know. So we'll just have to ride that out and see what we come up with. But glad you made it to this live, so welcome, bud. Let's see here. Yevgeny, which UDFA has the best chance of making the Chiefs roster? Best UDFA, man. For me, it's between Lovett and Fields. I think Lovett has taken advantage as much as he possibly could and done a good job with it of the lack of other tight ends, pass catching tight ends in this preseason. When it gets to camp, I think he's in for a battle. I think he can make the roster. And if he can continue to play like he's shown that he can play, making catches, being an H-back, which is different than what Travis Kelce is. You can put them both on the field together. You can put him out there with another guy like Yelder or even Wells, who can't catch but can block, or even Sherm lined up as a tight end. There's a lot of ways that you can still use the 2 and 3 tight end sets with a guy like that can catch. And honestly, a guy that can bring some more wrinkles to the game. I think some of the trick play stuff that Andy's always liked to run, I think it could be in the cards for that guy. So keep an eye on him. John Lovett in camp. Good question. Carson Stattinger. Oh, Staten Jr. Sorry. First time. Welcome. Glad you made it. Is there a rule to 4 games max, or is it just a guess? It's just a guess. That's just a feeling that I have. The rule book is 8 to 16, depending on severity. And quite honestly, that's still a guideline, I think, technically. It is at the sole discretion of the league and their disciplinary board and process and whoever makes those decisions. So there's no way to say for certain. That's just my guess and my gut feeling. Let's see. And Russell 1. Can Chiefs give a week to train at USAF Academy in Colorado Springs before the Mexico City game like the Rams did? They could. I think it's a scheduling issue. Last year, the Rams were there. But I also know that I don't think the Buffaloes were in all week at University of Colorado that week either. So there are opportunities. Air Force Academy would be the best place for them to train that week before Mexico City. I want to say that the field at the Air Force Academy sits about 6,800 feet. If I'm right, it's less than that. I'm not 100%. I'll have to look it up. But I go down there, once or twice a season. It's not far from me. I'm only about 2 hours. It is a good place. That acclimation is important. It's 7,300 feet in Mexico City at the field. So That's a significant change. And my family members that still live in Kansas City, whatever, my friends or whatever, when they come out to visit, I live up above 7,000 feet. It's a big difference. And people notice it instantly. I can only imagine what it's like to be an athlete and have to do it. Yes, you have better lung capacity, but you're more used to it, but it's still a significant change. And you're playing in a game where you have to be able to oxygenize yourself. So it's really important. And I hope they dodged a bullet and they learn from that a little bit so that they can find a place. You could also train at the University of New Mexico State. I believe that's up above 6,000 feet. So that's another option. There are places you can train and get acclimated. Good question. That's not one that we get very often, so I appreciate that. James Householder, will they re-sign Hill? I think they will. I can't say for certain. It's just a gut feeling, but I think they will. And it's mostly because there's not a charge. It's an embarrassment. It's a behavior that has to be corrected. But it's not, it's not one of these guys that goes out and gets convicted of drunk driving or something like that, an actual offense. So that's my gut feeling. I'm glad that you brought it up. I think it's going to be a year to year, and I think that's going to put a unique stressor on the salary cap because year-to-year contract is going to be more expensive than if you signed him long-term and gave him a bunch of money up front to reduce that number. So that's going to be a little bit more to manage, but I think it's doable. Okay, Jeff Lever. With Kelce and Hill out, how valuable are these reps of the depth players and the rookies? They're invaluable, Jeff. They're so useful. I don't think we're going to miss Travis Kelce for very long at all, so I don't think you have to worry about that. But you still need a second one to catch passes, to give him a breather every now and then. So the backups are going to be very important. Jay Cruz, are they winning a championship this year? I don't really refer to the Chiefs as we very often. Sorry. I think they definitely could be in it. So with Hill back down the stretch in the season, I think they have a chance to close out the division. I think it can be a very different outcome against the Chargers with this particular coaching staff on the defensive side. So, yeah, I'm going to say they're going to make a run for it. I'm going to say they're going to make the Super Bowl. I haven't decided if I think they're going to win yet or not, but I'll do that before camp's over. Dr. Sanitary, as bad as the Hill fiasco is, did it actually help the Chiefs financially? Overall, probably, in terms of not having to pay him quite as much money overall. But like I said, it is going to put more emphasis on the year-to-year base salary, which is a higher cap number. So that part isn't great. But I don't think you can give him, the contract that he had in January, which was going to be outrageous. So overall, I think it probably did save you a little bit of money. Okay. Tyler Gallagher. Will the Chiefs let Hill walk after this year because of the incident? I don't think so. Everything else aside, he's the most talented athlete on the offensive side of the ball in the league. I don't think any team's going to do that. So, and the big thing is they have a personal relationship with him that he's maintained enough by telling them the truth and keeping them informed of this, that I think there's a trust factor there that even though there are still things that have to be fixed, he needs counseling. He needs to identify, when a relationship is not in his best interest or his child's. There are things that need to go on there. It's not all roses, but I don't think they're going to part ways. Bray Booth, you have a very good point. How's Travis' injury coming along? He's walking around. He put a video up, I think, the other night or two. He's in Paris during this break, and he was training, running around at night. I don't know if he was, just jogging lightly or whatever, but he's moving, and then that's a good sign for Travis Kelce. Keenan Marshall, that's a good point, except they are your employer, and every employer relationship has an ethics clause, basically. So that's how they get away with it. It is, especially when you're in the public eye like that, it's standard in every league around the world. Joe Swift, assuming Hill is suspended for some games, how likely is it to have a 1,000-yard receiver this season? I think it puts a little bit less of a chance because I think he is the leading candidate to be a 1,000-yard receiver. except that the first guy that's going to take up slack for Tyreek Hill is going to be Travis Kelce. So I don't think you're going to see 1,000-yard receiver, but you might see 1,000-yard tight end. So, and if things go like they did last season, you could see one of each. I think there's going to be a little fallback in total output, but I think that's going to be part of the defense playing better. So I still think there's probably 4,000 to 4,500 yards on the table. There's a lot to go around. Rock 3036. What do you think about the article? I saw that. A couple of you guys tweeted it at me, that article that somebody wrote. It has no information in it that can be checked. They didn't put their name on it that I saw. They didn't give any of their sources. So until something can be proven that it's real, it's nothing to me. I won't say that it's false or that it is real. I just won't acknowledge it because there's just no way to know if that's just somebody, writing an opinion and trying to cloud it as fact. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I would just kind of sit back and let things happen, and we'll see what happens. Okay. McGuire Donegan. Love the name. Hey, Ryan, hope you're doing well. What are the chances you think that Ben Neiman plays this season? I think it's a chance. I think Ben's probably the best option as the backup Sam. He's going to play special teams, certainly. But I think there is some scenarios where, especially if injury hits that linebacker group, I think he will play. Good question. And I think he's still got promise. I think he still has some room to improve. So, okay. M. Roston, 507 senior. Okay. Are the Vikings still in need of shedding salary cap? No, I think they're okay. They're under their roster now. So I don't think Rhodes is a possibility any longer. And honestly, Zimmer never wanted to give him up in the first place. Zim's going to go after DBs that he can put on an island and forget about because he's got other fish to fry. So I like what Mike Zimmer does, and I don't think he's going to walk away from him. Evan Webster, do you think Hill's actions will have to rely more on the running game and Patrick Mahomes doing his magic? Patrick Mahomes is going to be affected. He's going to find somebody else to throw to. It's not going to be that hard for him. It's going to be the yards after the catch that's going to be affected. And that may bring you back to running a little bit more, but I don't think Andy wants to do that. Don't know that I can argue not using your MVP quarterback, but I think there needs to be balance. I think balance helps everyone. I think balance protects Mahomes. I think balance helps the offensive lineman. I think it does a little bit of everything. So I want to see more of it. I just don't know that Andy does. Okay. Eric O'Connor and Scott D, you guys both have a Pringle question. I don't think Pringle's a starter, no. He might start in the preseason, but no, it's going to be Watkins, Robinson, Mecole, Hardman in that order until Mecole passes up Demarcus Robinson. I don't know when that'll be, but I think it will be this season. And I think Pringle is in a battle there to be the next guy. Him, Dieter, I think they could be the fourth. So no, I don't see Pringle as a starter, but I do think that he can contribute. And I think you got to basically treat it as though, he's in his rookie season still. Yeah, he knows how to study film a little bit more. He knows the offense better in terms of the calls, but he hasn't been on the field. So you got to almost give him like a second mulligan on his rookie year. So don't be too down if he's not a starter yet. He's going to progress, and I feel good about his future. J-Dub, if Sammy has a great year, do you think the Chiefs re-sign him? He is under contract, I believe, for next year still. He's just really expensive. It would have to be a heck of a year to not want to restructure or extend, but that could be in the cards. We don't know what's going to happen with the salary cap. We don't know what's going to happen with Hill. There are things that can be done. So let's revisit that when we know what Sammy's done and how healthy he's been. Let's see. Thanks for the question, though, Jay. Sorry, I meant to say that. Okay. And Russell 11 saw an article about the Chiefs' interest in the supplemental draft. Can you explain this and the potential relevance to the Chiefs? The supplemental draft is for somebody that fell out of school, lost their eligibility for some reason, or is just generally kicked off a team or something like that. Generally, they're guys that are struggling to fit within the college system. They can apply for the supplemental draft. You can it's basically like a bidding system. You have to give up a draft pick for them. And I know the Chiefs are not big on giving up draft picks. I don't think it's a huge need. There was one corner that I think did declare, though. I'd have to go back and look at his film and see if he's even worth a draft pick or not. So I wouldn't hold my breath. It doesn't seem like the Brett Veach thing kind of thing to do. I think he's going to put in his grind and his tape work and get somebody the regular draft way. I don't think he's going to be into taking chances. Good question. Let's see here. Brian Varnell, thanks for your donation. I appreciate that very much. And your question, leaving for the Air Force basic training in a few days. Congrats. Good for you. Been watching your videos for about a year. Oh, even better. Thank you. Biggest sleeper team Chiefs need to watch in 19. Ooh, sleeper team. Whew. Who could make a big push? In the AFC or just the whole league? I'm going to go with, that's a good one. Because, you never know when a draft pick is going to change things. There's always third round running backs that turn into Alvin Kamara. There's always, guys that just spring out of nowhere. I think we know what the AFC West division is going to be for the most part. It might surprise them. I don't know. This is hard for me to say. Don't be alarmed. But I have a good feeling about the direction that the Bills are going in. I think they're a lower level team, but I think they're improving. I can't call the Colts a sleeper, but I think they're going to be vastly improved. I think Chris Ballard's one of the best GMs in the league already. I think he's going to push to be the best very, very soon. So those are two teams I watched. Congrats. Good luck at basic. Drop me a line sometime. I don't know if you're going to the academy or where basic is for the Air Force. But hey, be safe out there. Thank you for your service that you're about to start, and I appreciate you being a fan of the channel. Zach Jackson, have you been satisfied with the national media reporting on the Tyreek case? No, it's all one-sided. They don't dig into details. It's been pretty lazy reporting work, in my opinion. Other than Therese, he's technically national media, but I mean, he's still a local guy. So, NFL I was talking about, it was acting like he was found guilty and needs to be out of the league. Yeah, Zach, there's a lot of talking heads, a lot of media outlets at the national level that are spewing opinion rather than fact. So I just keep on moving. It's not worth your time to even read it. Let's see. Tomby, do you see anyone to pick up in the supplemental draft? I haven't looked at it. Like I said, I only noticed the one guy that even declared. So no, I don't think that's really in the future. Gary Holland, can you see Byron Pringle being a number 3 receiver? Eventually, possibly. Eventually it's going to be Hill and Hardman at the end of the day. And then there's going to be room. I think he could get to 4 this season. It depends on just how much he can take advantage of his opportunities. I do like his upside over a guy like Demarcus Robinson. I don't think he's going to beat out Hardman anytime soon, though. Good question. Holden Caulfield. First time watching live. Well, welcome. Chiefs have gone cheap, Jared Allen, or just messed up Peters. Do they give Chris Jones his $90 million front-loaded and call it good? They did get cheap, but Jared Allen was a little bit off the rails, and they did not make a mistake in Marcus Peters. I guarantee you that. Marcus Peters is a disruptive force that was totally out of control against the coaching staff. There's no disputing that. I think they do eventually give Chris Jones probably between 85 and 90 total. Yeah, I just don't know about the guarantee. I know he wants around 60. I think he's going to get around 50. This may include a franchise tag next season. I don't know. We're going to see what the stance of the agent is versus the team here pretty quickly, because he'll be in camp by the second week of camp no matter what, or else he won't get to be a free agent next year. So there really isn't anything that he can do. I hope that they can meet in the middle and keep it amicable, and that would be best for everyone. John Delaney, thanks for your donation. I appreciate it. Which wide receivers are going to make this team? My prediction right now, as it stands, without injury or without seeing what progression they make, There's going to be a lot of progression needed at the back, but it's going to be Hill, Watkins, Hardman, Demarcus Robinson right now, Pringle, and probably Dieter is my guess. I think it's going to be a very hard decision because Kemp plays a lot of special teams and he's good at it. And Dave Toub's going to go to the mat for him. So I could see that too. I think Cody Thompson is a really intriguing guy, especially in the slot. But I think he's probably a practice squad candidate, and you can probably keep him. So I think they should. But that's how I see it right now, is that I think it's going to be Dieter over Kemp and Pringle in there. Let's see here. And we did clarify with Matt a little while ago. Tyreek Hill has to be on the 53-man roster day one until he's suspended. So they're going to have to cut somebody and then try to bring him right back the next day. So that's going to be a bit of a rigmarole that they're going to have to go through. Good question, John. Jason Austin, Dave Toub said Springle would have made the 53 last year. Whose roster spot do you think he would have taken? Possibly Dieter's. I don't know. There's a couple of DBs that I don't know that really deserved it last year, and definitely don't deserve it this year versus this group. So that's just my take. Evan, so there's a real good chance that Hill stays on the team and obviously gets suspended for 6 to 8. I think it's 4, like I said earlier, but he definitely will be suspended and he definitely will be on the team. Oh, shoot. Scrolled too far, you guys. Hold on. Getting caught back up. Mike Talley. There we go. Will D-Rob not make this team? I know some people have theorized about that, and there is a possibility. He's got to show something. He's got to show that he's ready to take that step up to be a guy who's on the field a lot, just like Chris Conley was, especially when you don't know how much Sammy's going to be out there. And you have Hardman pushing from behind, right? So there is one scenario where Hardman really clicks. He's obviously athletic, that Pringle makes enough plays in the preseason to surpass him. And then he's got to fight it out with Dieter. Or maybe even Kemp, depending on who you like there. And the thing is, Demarcus Robinson hasn't played a ton of special teams. If you're the 6th receiver, you have to play special teams. So there is an outside chance. I just don't see it happening. And I know there's a lot of folks out there that like Custis, and they're super huge on him. He's a practice squad guy if he makes it at all. I'll tell you that right now. Same with Fenton. I think they're both intriguing guys, but I think they need a lot of work. So keep an eye on them. J-Dub, who's going to have a better year, Frank or Tyron? That's a good question. Tyron's got to cover up what I think is a weaker secondary than Frank has to cover in the front. I think the front's better. I think having a better front takes more pressure off of him because they have to block Jones. And they're going to have to block some of the other guys too. So I'm going to say first year, Frank has a better year than Tyron Matthew. That'll change. Let's see. Carliners. I keep hearing Spags' defense is simple. Is that because it is new this year? No, not at all. It's because it's a one-gap defense, particularly for the front. Think of it. You remember seeing those plays where Hitchens and Ragland are coming downhill and they get to the hole and they just sat there, right? Break down in the hole. They're not attacking. They're not going anywhere. They get washed out. They get blocked from the side. That's a 2-gap. That's a read and react, right? You have linemen that engage their blocker or their 2 blockers, because a lot of times you had double teams when you had a 3-man front, and they're taking that on and they're reading. That's called 2-gapping, and that's what the Chiefs did when they were a 3-4 under Sutton. Now, all those guys have a single gap responsibility, and they are to take that gap. It makes things a lot simpler. You're going one place and you're watching for what happens there. It helps the linebackers a ton, and that's why I'm pretty optimistic that both Hitchens and Ragland will have a better season this year than they did last year. Let's see. Justin Trova, do you think other teams are going to try and hurt Mahomes? They always do. If you can knock another team's quarterback out, defenses like that. So I don't think it'll be anything different. Oh, shoot. I just scrolled. Okay. Got it back. Next question. Dylan Hale, do you think they'll re-sign Watkins if Byron Pringle and Hardman live up to the hype and Hill does get signed to a big contract? I think they can, and I think if they're close, if they make a Super Bowl or they win one, I think Sammy will be willing to come back cheaper. Winning is contagious, and I think that could do it. Let's see. NRS 11. Could you use Kelsey, Sherman, Lovett all at once in the same formation? Yes, you definitely could. There are a lot of ways. I could draw some up, but Andy won't listen to me, so it's not really worth it. But yeah, there are definitely ways. You saw Sherman line up as a tight end last year a couple of times. They can run their 3 tight end trip set if they want with those 3. They can all catch. You could also run Sherman as a fullback or as a tailback or as an H with Lovett and Kelsey up on the line or split out. There's a number of different ways, but yeah, you can use them all. And I think that requires a little more creativity and a little more tearing down of stereotypes, but I think it can be done in this offense this year. Let's see. J-Dub, will Damian Williams make it to his first Pro Bowl? I don't know. Pro Bowl is a popularity contest. I think he's going to have a very good season. I'm projecting him to be around 1,500 total yards. And I think that will get the attention of some people. He's just got to have a couple of breakout games for the national audience to get on it and vote for him. Chiefs Kingdom can help, but I don't think it's enough for running back to just have their fans behind it. You got to make an impression on the whole league. Evan I, do you think Byron Pringle can develop into a good receiver? Yes, I do. Talked about him a lot. You guys are all on Pringle tonight. Well, hey, gonna have to do something on him too. Aaron Santos. Oh, wait, perfect player. Thanks for your donation. You didn't ask a question though. Come back to me. Ask another question, please. Get something for your donation. I appreciate it. Aaron Santos. Thoughts on the running back room and who will make the roster? It's going to be Williams and Williams, Hyde, and probably Thompson. I still feel like James Williams is going to make it somewhere in the league. He's a good pass catcher, and that's money you got to have here in the league. I think what the surprise was is they held Hyde out for a while because he was injured. He wasn't quite 100%. When he did get back on the field, he looked good, and that made them relax about his injury history, and it made James Williams expendable. I think Darwin Thompson will make the team probably week 1. He may end up a practice squad player. I don't know that I believe the hype that he's going to be some phenom his rookie season when you have Williams and Hyde a front of him. So yeah, that's what I think. I think they're going to be in good shape. It's about, balancing it and keeping guys healthy. Alex Mitchell. Thank you. I appreciate it. Can you clarify why and how 3 safeties mean more coverage, less Dirty Dan? I heard you say that, but I would love a more in-depth why. Okay, so here's the concept. You can run your basic 2 safety, right? And Spags is going to mix more zone in than man that we've seen lately, but I just don't know how much yet. But when you do that, you're playing man, you want to play single high. If you can play single high safety, that means you have corners that can cover and you can move your other safety into the box. You can rush with linebackers. You can drop. You can do some of the zone blitzing. That allows a lot of activity. But they run out in 4 or 5 receiver sets. That's not an advantage. And so teams have gone to a 3 safety look where you have one that can either drop down on a slot receiver or step into a linebacker role like we've seen Dan Sorensen do in the past. And so you end up with 3 safeties on the field, but they can still play split top zones. They can still play cover 3 or 4 in that configuration. You can still run a robber that's going to take that intermediate depth, but in the middle of the field area. We've seen Eric Berry make a lot of plays in that kind of configuration, and Tyrann Mathieu can as well. So that's an advantage there. But the difference is when you run 3 safeties like that, and Dan Sorensen is one of them, he's got the advantage in rushing and being up in the box. If you're trying to play more of a drop 8, rush 4, or can't even do my math. If you're dropping 7 or 8 and you're only rushing 3 or 4, that puts more of the impetus on covering. And that's, while Dan can do it and he's made some plays, it's not his strength. And I think Armani Watson, maybe even Lucas, can cover a little bit better, especially if you go to a matchup zone kind of concept where you're not just dropping to a location, you're trying to match the route that's coming at you. And I think that's a disadvantage for Sorensen. So that's my thoughts along those lines. Let's see. Oh, just okay. Answered Alex. Doctor, again, heard the debate on 610. Do you think Arrowhead would ever host a Super Bowl? I don't know. KC in February is not something that I don't think the league's going to be into. So if they ever did the rolling, roof or whatever, maybe, but I don't think so. That's just me. Sorry to be a spoiler, but J-Dub, expectations for Mecole Hardman. That eventually he will be the third receiver. I think he can go around the 5 touchdown mark this year. Depending on the suspension, he could get higher than that. Let's see. Craig Murphy, how are you? Thanks for your donation. Offensively, weakest position link, and what would you like to see happen to fix it? Cheers to you, my friend. The weakest link right now is going to be the backup tight end, knowing that Andy wants to run 2 and 3 tight end sets. So what I would like to see is they abandon like having 2 inline tight ends and they let guys do what they're good at. John Lovett's a good pass catcher. I want to see him be the 2, at least to start the season, because I'm not sure Deion Yelder's like ready. I think Yelder's a fair blocker, and I think he can bring something to the game too. But I think he needs a little more time to progress. Lovett's a pretty natural athlete, natural hands. And I'd like to see them get him involved quickly. And I'd like them to kind of piggyback the H position that Lovett can play, crossing the formations and stuff, pivot that off of the threat that Kelsey is. So that's what I'd like to see. Good question. Dwight Raleigh, Colorado State was a big difference for the Razorbacks when they went up there. Okay, cool. I didn't know that they had. Randy Moran, do you think Hyde is going to be another Peyton Hillis? No, I think Hyde is a true tailback. He catches well. He runs well. He's just injury prone. And that's it. In a backup role, I think he's great because you don't have to rely on him. J-Dub, what's going on with the new challenges and the pass interference? I'm not too worried about it. There's going to be more challenges. You know, it might slow the game down a little bit while you're there, but have another beer. I don't know. Which running backs make the roster? Aaron Santos. I said that earlier, and it's still going to be Williams, Hyde, and I think Thompson does make it. How long is Kelsey out for? He's supposed to be back for camp, Scott Conklin. I don't expect him to miss any time. He looks like he's just fine. Okay, Adam Daughtry. If the NFL allowed 2 footballs on the field at the same time, how many double touchdowns would we get a game? I have absolutely no idea. Probably 2. I just want to know, how do you take 2 snaps? That's going to be the question for me. Huh. Is Aaron Morrow in here? I'm going to hide this one user. I'm starting to see that stuff again. So I apologize, guys. Bear with me while I try to figure that out. And ladies, is you as well. I haven't seen many ladies in here tonight. We will try to keep that moving forward. Adam, Andy Anderson, how long do you give AB before he throws a fit and if things don't go well for Carr and the Raiders? I'm going to put the over-under at 6, and I'm going to take the under. Scott Vansel, is Dorian Daniel going to be the odd man out at linebacker? No, I don't think so. They made a pretty sizable investment in him when they drafted him. I think they're going to find a place for him to play. The question is just going to be, is he a backup at will, or is that Lee because Hitchens stays at will? I'm not sure how it's going to work out. He's going to be coverage down kind of guy. So I think he definitely has a role. Yes. Got that one. Big test. Who was the best season under 4 who was best last season in order? Ford, Clark, or Houston? It's a good question. Clearly Ford got more stats. Houston made more big plays when the team needed it. And quite frankly, Clark did more work than both of them, because the advantage that Clark, or the advantage that Ford and Houston had, was each other. It's a whole lot easier to rush the passer and make plays when you have somebody across from you that's good. Frank Clark didn't have that. He had some decent linemen, but he didn't have another edge guy. So he was much more on his own. So I'm going to say, in terms of doing good work, I think Frank Clark was probably the best. He just didn't show up on the tally sheet as much. Let's see. Roland Roberts. It sounds crazy, but it would be good if Hill was forced to sit for 2 games to see what Pringle and Dieter can do. Yeah, I mean, we're going to see that in the preseason anyway. But yeah, the young guys are going to get more reps because of the Hill suspension, and that's not a terrible thing. It is a pretty tough schedule, though. So let's not be too happy about it, because they do need some help. Let's see. Metal Rocker X, who is the likeliest tight end to be paired on the field come week 1 with Kelsey? Right now, I'm going to say Lovett. It's a wide open field. There's nobody that's really said, I'm the backup tight end. And I can't even guarantee that they're not going to trade or bring somebody in. So he might not even be on the roster. But right now, as it stands today, I'm going to say love it. Brent Crosby. Do you think Mahomes will try to improve the short passing game to counter the D, preventing the deep ball? I think that honestly depends on when Hill's deployed and what Hardman can show early. I think the biggest thing it's going to be is reading pre-snap where to put the ball based on the defense. I think that's a big area that he can still improve upon, and I think it's going to give him more explosive plays because all of his guys, if he gets in the ball, they can all make yardage after the catch. So I don't know that it'll be that the defensive back off that much, especially with Hill out. Eventually, that may come down to that. But they're going to throw a lot of things at him. It's going to be a lot about pre-snap reads. Good question. Jay Elder. Does Goodell make an example of Hill and really wait out the investigation by DCF? No, I don't think so. They're going to get this done in the next 3 weeks. They want it off their plate. They want to make the decision and move on and try to make everybody enjoy the 100th season of the NFL and kind of focus on that. So, no, I think exactly the opposite. They're going to try to get it done as soon as possible and move forward. Low lip. How much can Chris Conley's knowledge of the offense benefit the Jaguars when the Chiefs play them week 1? Almost none. Because Chris Conley's an offensive player. He can give stuff away, but everything changes. And that defense has seen the Chiefs last season. I don't think he's going to be able to tell them anything that's going to help them. They understand. I think the film work is probably going to do the best help of that. I think the bigger thing is that I think Chris is going to have more of an impact on the Jags offense than he did on the Chiefs offense, especially with Nick Foles throwing to him. So I think that's where you may see Chris Conley show up. DJ Hensley, do you think the Chiefs will win both games against the Raiders this season? Yes. I don't think that should be much of a contest. Chris Smith, again, first timer. Welcome back, dude. Cornerbacks. Could the Chiefs be interested in bringing a guy like Brandon Carr? No. He cannot run. He is not fast enough. I don't think they want anything to do with any aging veterans that may be over the hill. Patrick Peterson is not over the hill. He's still optimal. Even Janoris Jenkins is a little bit past the top of the hill, so I'm not sure they're big on him either. Excuse me, everybody. Even more crazy, Marcus Peters seems to have matured a bit, or Desmond King. There's no way they're going to trade King. The Chargers love him. And Peters, I just think you're hearing less about him is all. I don't know that he's matured. If anything, hanging out with Talib is probably going to make you go off the deep end a little bit more. Let's see. Gary Holland. Next 2 years, do you think that Veach has to really do a great job drafting since they ate spending all this money on players? The cap goes up every year. You're going to gain cap. I think they have $60 million in cap space for 2020. So no, I'm not too scared about that. You always have to do a good job drafting, or it shows up. So he's done okay with his second round picks. Obviously, Speaks and Tano passing you are 2 second rounders that got to show up and play. And that's not necessarily just on him. Yes, the Speaks one was his decision, but Passanio was Dorse. So, I mean, got to continue to do what you think is best for the team. And if you miss, you miss. You just got to keep on grinding. He's found some good talent as well. Who's the odd man out at running back? If they only keep 3, I think Thompson might go to the practice squad. Unless there's an injury. If Carlos Hyde gets injured again, then he will get cut. Because once he gets hurt in camp, he's not going to be the same all season long. Let's see. What kind of improvement do you think Mahomes will show this year? Zach Jackson. I hope he'll make better decisions. I hope he'll make easier throws, not necessarily harder ones. And I do think that he's going to be calmer, less erratic, less having to break the pocket. He did run out of some pockets he didn't need to run from. And I think that's going to get better the more he reads pre-snap. Let's see. Chiefs fan 58. You think Jones is upset that they gave all that money to Clark? You know, I've heard people say that. Terez has said that, and I trust Terez's opinion. I don't think it's that big a deal because it's a very different deal. Frank played out his rookie contract. He got his money because he did. Chris hasn't. It's not the same situation. You have to have edge rushers. As good as he is, you have to have them. And knowing that they were moving on from Ford and Houston, I don't think you can hold that against him too much. He might have a little bit, he might be sore a little, but I don't think it's going to be, I don't think that's what's driving it. I think it's just the mechanics of a premier player getting a premier contract. Let's see. Morbian, what are the odds that Mahomes throws a lot more shorter routes this season? I don't know. Gunslinger's going to want to shoot. I don't know that you're going to pull him back that far. I think there'll be more opportunities for short to intermediate routes, the 10-yard kind of range. I think Hardman can play well underneath, but he's a vertical guy too. Probably a vertical guy more so than a crosser. So I do feel like this is still a vertical offense rather than somebody that's going to check down lower, tighter. We'll see. Let's see. With the likely suspension, I'm sorry, Jeff Lever. With the likely suspension of Hill, do double teams on Kelsey concern you? No, because it frees up Hardman and Watkins, who both can hurt you very deep. So I'm not concerned about that at all. We are running out of time, folks, so I'm going to hurry through these. Scott Conklin, do you think still is staying in shape? From what I've seen, he is. I'm sure that he is, knowing that he's going to get back in. Nate Altick, if Pringle beats out Robinson on the depth chart, do they keep Robinson? That's a very good question. It might be the maybe that doesn't happen. Let's see. Frank Barras, is it just me or does Kansas City have more than other teams of troubled players such as Belcher, Bowe, Johnson, Peters, Hunt, and Hill? I don't know. You could say that. Belcher certainly, because of the nature of that. I mean, Bowe was a pain in the butt, but he wasn't, it wasn't getting in trouble off the field. So I don't know that I can say that. So Zombie, if we have a badass O-line, would you like to see us run just a little bit more? Yes, definitely. I'd like to see him run a lot more. Let's see. Next question. Kelly Church, do you see Yahoo rank the Chiefs? Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a metric of dollars spent and that kind of stuff. And Kansas City is one of the smallest markets in the league. So don't worry about any of that. That's just writing headlines in July. It's all for clicks. Don't worry about it. Let's see. Mr. Smoke That Green. Okay. What do you think KCT5 Dragon Tigers? People get duped. It sounds like KCTV5 did. I can't prove that. I don't know enough about how they got their information that was incorrect. Answered that one. J-Dub, are you comfortable with the tight ends on the roster? No, I'd like to see them improve the depth. I'd like to see a true number 2, and I'd like to see Lovett be the 3, but I don't know if that can happen. It could, but I don't know that it definitely will. Jay Jones, what big names do you think won't make the roster? I think Sorensen's up for a maybe. I think you could see Kemp go. I don't know about Xavier Williams. I just don't know. They like him, but I don't know if it's going to be about adapting to this defense. So I got to see that. And I don't know that Tremont Smith is safe. So they got a lot of returners now, and I don't think he's up to par with some of the young guys they brought in at corner. Okay, you guys are doing good. Casey K69, thanks for your donation. Appreciate it. Which wide receiver, Felton, Michigan State, will Felton make the team? He's a beast. No, he will not. He'll be on the practice squad. I think that's a perfect place for him. He does need to develop, but no, he's not going to beat out Pringle and Hardman and Robinson. I don't think he can beat out Dieter. Honestly, I don't think he can beat out Kemp. But he's got a lot of upside, and I think they will find a way to keep him on the practice squad. Let's see. Got to kick another user. Sorry, guys. Ooh, we're almost close. We're almost to an hour. 300 people, though. It's great for a Monday night in June, so thank you. Keep spreading the word. I'm trying to get to 10,000 before the season starts so I can do some more things on the channel for you guys. 10,000 subs is one of the thresholds for YouTube, so they open up some things when you get there. Scott Vancel, are the RBs really as good as they look in Reid's offensive system? And I'm including Kareem Hunt. They are good athletes, but Reid knows how to use running backs a lot. It is a combination. Mahomes is a great quarterback. I don't think he would be just as good if he were somewhere else. Sorry, got an itch. Andy Reid is a very, very good coach. That can't really be underestimated. Zach Jackson, thanks for your donation. Will we see more of the screen game this year? Andy loves screens. I think he just got away from it a little bit last season, and I don't think it went down a ton. I want to say it was like 3 or 4% of the passing downs because he has the gun. I think if you do see deep cover fours and a lot of guys backing off, I think they will bring the screen game back in more. Okay, questions. Lola just asked question mark, so that means I missed something somewhere, but I don't see it, bud. Sorry. If I go back up. Oh, what are the 3 things you'll be looking for at training camp from Lolip? It will be the cornerbacks first and foremost. It will be who can rush opposite Frank Clark and actually get home. And it'll be what they can do, what wrinkles they're going to use for those tight ends to make up for Hill. And say 3B is going to be the wide receivers who takes a step forward. Good questions, you guys. You got a lot of them. Chiefs fan 58. Do you think that K-Pass and Speaks will work their way into the starting lineup? I don't. I think they're going to be quality rotational backups, but I don't see them as starters. Maybe if somebody goes down to injury, possibly. Who's the best defensive player on the roster? It's Tyrann Mathieu. Let's see here. Can you talk about the report I read? Nathan Zimmerman, that's not a report. That's somebody's opinion. There's no facts in that. There's no sources quoted. That's that. Calling Tyreek Hill a victim is pretty silly. At the very least, he's done something. I don't want to get into the details of it, but yeah, throw that aside. There's no proof in any of that statement. Can Hardman earn the number 2 spot? No, not with Sammy Watkins on the roster. Short routes and time management to extent, possibly. That's Carson Staten Jr. Using short routes as an extension of the run game. You've heard that said before. It's a possibility, but I don't know. I don't really buy that a whole lot. So, thanks, Jay. Appreciate it. Casey, thanks to you, both you guys. Let's see here. All right. Last call. If you guys have questions, throw them out there. And I will try to wrap that up. What I'm going to do with the channel is I'm doing these shorter vlog type ones just to kind of cover some of the things that I'm thinking about, what we're going to see in camp. I got another one coming out in a couple of days. I think you guys will like it. It's a little bit different. And it's not like a huge premier player, but it's somebody I think could make a really sneaky difference. So take a look for that. It'll be up Wednesday morning. Who else? Anybody else? Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Okay, Joel Bennett, how many sacks for Frank? I think he gets to 13. I don't think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to spread around a little bit again. Super Emerald, do you think the Chiefs will go to the Super Bowl in 2020? Possible. I think they might make it in 19. I'm kind of focused on that. So, do you see the depth chart saying Fuller and Breeland on the outside? Do you think Fuller is better suited at nickel? He struggled last year on the outside. Should be Ward and Breeland. Yeah, but he's the better corner. He's better than Ward, period. So if there are only 2, it's going to be Fuller and Breeland. When they go to 3, Fuller will move inside for Ward to come onto the field. So that's normal, Nicholas. Not a surprise. That's what they did last year as well. First round pick next year, KCK. Yeah, I think they'll be picking 31st or 32nd. So take that with a grain of salt. How many TDs for Sherman? I think Sherman gets 4 this season, and I think they might be in a variation of ways. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for that. Does Yelder get open as much as D Harris? He hasn't yet, Aaron, but he's got a lot of potential. He was basically on the practice squad last year, but he's as good an athlete. He doesn't leap as well, but he's quicker. So I'm going to hold out hope for him. You guys are doing great. A lot of good questions. Adam Daughtry is cheated. You doing the cheetah challenge when you go to camp? I don't know what that is, but probably not, unless there's beer drinking involved. What do you think of the new drum? I think that's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I'll be at a game or two this year, so hopefully I'll get a chance to hear it. Alex Mitchell, are we not doing enough for the future of the O-line? I think there's plenty there. Looks like they're repping McKenzie at center as well as guard. And you're going to see on the franchise, the program the Chiefs are putting out, you're going to see on there tomorrow night that he's working with Will Shields. So yeah, they're going all out to develop some of the young guys. And with LDT still out there, Wiley, Reeder, they have enough youth. They're going to be fine. It's just how long can Schwartz and Fisher last? Could this be the year that Brady hands the torch to Mahomes? Dwight Raleigh, very good question. I think it very well could be. Next. You guys are rocking it. Good job. Do you think they beat team to beat for us, Chargers or Patriots? How about both, Jay? I'll take both. Aaron Morrow, I do feel Yelder has better hands than Harris. From what I saw in college, definitely. Isaiah, I talked a ton about Pringle earlier. Just rewind. Red Royce, what the Sherman man wear? Oh, yeah. What's Sherman going to wear when he comes to camp? I'm thinking he might go cowboy this year. I don't know. I can see a hat and boots and that kind of thing. Spurs, maybe. I don't know. What do you think? Who do you think will bang the drum, Metal Rocker? I have no idea. Evan, I have no idea what will happen with Eric Berry. Jerry Cole, good question. How's the new coaches getting along with the vets on the team? The vets seem very enthusiastic about the scheme and what they're being asked to do. So I'm going to say that's a big plus. Stack, no, the Hill situation is not resolved, but the NFL is going to interview him this week, and they're going to make a decision before camp, is in all likelihood. So that said, folks, I will cut it there. We're right at an hour. I appreciate all of your time. Spread the word, get people to subscribe. We'll just keep doing this all summer. Next Monday, and I'll have a couple of videos this week. Check it out on Wednesday morning. Let me know what you want to see, if there's anything you want me to cover, and leave it in the community tab or in the comments here. Thanks for all your time. Hit the thumbs up if you liked it. I'll talk to you next time.